Hey gang, how you guys doing? Well, God, tonight is a beautiful evening and it's kind of like drizzling, and I like this area because it kind of gives you that indoor outdoor feeling of, your living room. And you can just hang out here and just really listen to Mother Nature. And it's kind of funny because living out in LA for 5 years or plus, and you come back to Hawaii during the pandemic, and you kind of really start to think a lot of things, a lot. And maybe because I'm fortunate enough, because I'm pretty much independent and do everything myself, I have those moments where I could just really sit back and have my own moment most of the time. But a lot of time people ask is, how do I know when I'm going through a spiritual awakening? And what is a spiritual awakening? It can happen at any age when you feel that there's something more in life that you really want to search. Because most of the time we pretty much, stand in line and do whatever people tell us what to do, and have pretty much them in control of your life. And you get dictated to do this or you do that, and that's just kind of, maybe we thought it was part of life. But then when you go through the spiritual awakening or spiritual realization of a lot of things, you really kind of only want to focus on a certain things. Like, what was that all about? Like, certain things like going out and doing this and doing that. You slowly start to become detached from people. It's not because you want to be a loner, it's more of you understanding what there is in life. And some people use it to just take this moment to enjoy. And really, it's a time to reevaluate your belief, whether you are going through, a relationship problem, a business problem, any kind of things. And you really kind of seek your passion. And you kind of really come back and think a lot about what is really your priority. And then you start to see the difference, that so much of just hanging out at the mall or hanging out at doing things, just hanging out and really just not doing anything, you become much more aligned with yourself, whether it's going through a passion, like something you just like, your hobby, a passion, or things that you want to learn. You read more, you do gardening, you play with your pet more, you do, you know crochet, or whatever. But it's really a time when you can really adapt and connect to the deeper you. And that's when you start to realize, what is your belief system. Some people turn much more into religion. Some people turn more into spiritual. Some people turn more into their own being. Like, start to say, you know what? Maybe this 9 to 5 ain't working for me. Or maybe this certain group of people always going out and drinking and talking and doing all of that, maybe that's not just your clique anymore. It has nothing to do with that certain group or that certain person. It's just this thing that you start to realize, that everything around you start to synchronize. And you start to get these deja vu incidents and experience that you kind of like mind blowing. And how so many things, like, you don't even think about it or just even look at the clock. Just now I was like, oh, 1122, okay, I need to do a live, or it's time to talk about something. And you start seeing things that's really more into finding your relationship begin to shift. And like I just said, you become more and more keen to your surrounding, I have to say, and you're guided more towards what really resonates to you. And the thing is that once you start to feel this spiritual things becoming very important in your life, and you start to ignore calls from, hey, let's go out, let's go shopping, let's go grab something to eat, it comes down to more of much more meaningful things in your life, much more fulfillment, which means a spiritual fulfillment of how you want to prioritize your time, your life. And the greatest thing about going through this spiritual awakening or spiritual growth is you become more intuitive. And when I say you become more intuitive, is because you have started to get this newly heightened senses that just starts to just show up. And certain place or certain things, like for instance, is like, oh wow, a year ago my koi fish all died, and I was thinking about it and thinking about it, and then just so happened I get a call, and hey, you know what, we're cleaning out our pond, I got a whole bunch of koi fishes if you want to take a look at it. And that was last week. And then today picked it up, and I didn't know it was that huge, so I'm just kind of like, oh no, contemplating. And it was really nice because it got me an opportunity to say, you know what, all these synchronicity, all these things are happening is because I'm giving a second chance of what I need to bring in for myself, because I start to understand this intuitive and this synchronicities that start to happen. The other thing is that's really, really gets keen and sensitive is your sense of fake people. Your sense of, okay, you don't want to be manipulative. And you have this heightened intuition that you're able to sense fakeness or some kind of manipulative behavior when someone is trying to coast you into do things or deceiving you, or you know that you just know it. And this thing is just heightens when you feel that gut feeling like you don't want to be part of this shit, you don't want to be part of all of this bullshit, and you just kind of walk away. And this thing is just, the sense of it is just so strong. I mean, like, things that I kind of like felt it and in my heart, all of a sudden it just comes to me, and that's when you get that open door of challenge. And an incident happened, and you don't like it, and you put your boundaries and you set your ways, and you tell them off. But they don't like that. So what they do is they come after you, and they will tell you F you, or they'll tell you, you know what, da da da, I'm over it, I'm over you. Or they'll try to manipulate and start using certain words to just kind of like scare you off. And then you get some of these other people don't know what to do, so they follow, because you're the only one that says, okay, have a great life, see ya. And I just start to wish people well. And it's like, why am I have to go through this feeling of being, you know, manipulated, or feeling like this fakeness that's around you, and inauthentic. You know, you go out and you feel like okay, or you just talk to somebody and you just can feel the vibe. Your vibes just this it just feel you just feel it. And when you have that opportunity, really, instead of getting into it because you know that it doesn't synchronize with you anymore, it doesn't resonate with you anymore, so just let it go and wish them well. And you know, however, whatever they try to do, they know and they get upset, so they try to get everyone to go against you. And that's when a whole bunch of these manipulations of other people, because they don't know how to control it, so they just go with the flow. As the sheep say, the sheep goes with the flow. They don't know why they're going that direction, but they're just going to that direction. And so when you realize everyone is on their own path, and when you start to figure out this spiritual path, you become more accepting of the idea that everyone else is really on their own unique path as well too. And so, like I just said, there's really no really winning argument or convincing people of your views, because it just doesn't matter anymore, right? And so you just come into this thing where you just want to be in service with a greater being, you know? It's not that clique or that circle that, yeah, it's more of, okay, you become stronger of who you are spiritually, mentally, physically, and really your behavior starts to gear more towards like giving what you know, giving your service, giving your knowledge, giving your path of, mistakes that she's done, or giving advice like this, because you start to find that you start to teach yourself. And that's the most incredible thing, is really teaching yourself, because you come out of this little circle of repeating certain things. Sometimes we call it bad habit. Sometimes we call it repeated habit. And so, you start to really accept this. Hey, feeling alone, it's really great. But some people feel very unease when undertaking being alone, like eating by yourself, cooking by yourself, or going to the beach by yourself, or going for a walk by yourself. You start doing these things of being alone and being much more freer and much more adventurous. But sometimes a lot of us can't go to that level because we feel that I don't want to feel lonely. I don't want to feel isolated. I don't want to feel that I don't look like I look like a loner. But you know what? This feeling of isolation really is going to make your world flip upside down. And meaning that when you flip upside down, your life becomes really the second wave of, wow, this is this is this is unreal. It's like you feel like a blissful freedom, and you start to be much more connected to the natural world. It's just a transition. It's just things that just happens. And most of all, your sense of things, that you just become much more awakened, much more in tune, much more present in the world, which is really either is physical, emotional, or really energetically. It's just this huge stimulation of a feeling. And so I have a list of things that what you can start to feel, and sometimes you do have this disturbance in your sleep pattern. Why? Is because it's just a newfound thing. And most of all, what makes it so beautiful and wonderful, it's you. Up to now, you have put yourself really in the back, which is great at times, but you forget about this thing that you was born to be, you. And at the sometimes we see, especially when we go through changes, whether it's a divorce, whether it's you're going through, change of life, meaning like menopause or post-menopause, premenopause, or you just feel that, like I said before, like when you go off to college or you go off to another destination in life and you come back and you just see a sudden change in your habits, your routine, your day-to-day things, and your outlook starts to very much feel different. And what's great about it is that you start to increase a different feel of being an empath. And you start to see the difference of people suffering, like real suffering. And you just can't ignore it, and you start to display more compassion towards a lot of things. And so you start to get this huge amount of curiosity. And when that happens, you can't just, you just keep on like searching and digging to find much more knowledge. And when you start doing that and seeking, your time being alone is really start to become the process of the stages of you being awake. Because you start to really find that these small little simple things have so much more meaning than what it was before. And so, really, this is a long talk today on my chit chat. What is today? Saturday. Is because this thing of spiritual awakening is not something where people just say, I'm going to go through the spiritual awakening. It just happens. When it happens, it's not like a certain time, a certain place, or certain age, or certain meaning. It's just this one moment in your life that all of a sudden everything just starts to become a darkness. And when that darkness, you feel it, you start searching for that light in your soul. And so when that starts to see that light, you're either going to keep on sparring and doing the same thing in life, or you're going to start to lift off and search that light within you. And so this chit chat corner is really about finding that spiritual awakening. And it doesn't matter. I'm in my pajama. It's almost midnight. I'm having my lemon honey tea, and really wanted to just share this with you. So you take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and most of all, aloha.